B. Davis, what do you know about tourism? What do you know about travel? I'm very fortunate at a young age. I was able to travel to Europe a lot. My father sent me to Italy, where he's from, as a child, and spent a lot of great time there, learned a lot of great lessons. B. Davis, very different kind of road to get there. Her first excursion was kind of an unwanted one at 8 years old when she went to California. I let her tell that story, but it kind of shook her a little bit. But now she focuses a lot on the Caribbean, and she has a great podcast. But, what are some of the do's and don'ts when traveling? What should you look for? I don't know if you're familiar at all, by the way, with the term volunteercation. So you go on a vacation, you volunteer a little bit. B's got a really great story, really great experiences that she shares on the podcast and shares with me. Just I love talking about travel. I love talking about seeing other places, and what's the responsibility of a tourist when you go somewhere? What are your responsibilities? Should there be any? Thanks for listening and watching. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because I was working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Very excited to talk to you, B. Davis. Thank you for your time. What is the responsibility of a tourist?
Ooh, that's a very good question. First off, let me say thank you for having me join you today. The responsibility of a tourist, I think, number one should be to know where you're going, and some of the cultures that it is that you're going to be hanging out inside of while you're there. It's good to know the laws, obviously, of the country that you're visiting, or state, or however it may be. So I feel like the number one responsibility is just to do a lot of research and make sure you know what you're doing, where you're going.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. Because all too often we see, people visiting a place and they're trying to make it their own home. They're trying to adjust things the way they like it, and it's just not the way the locals are. And that could be a hard battle right there.
Absolutely. I think I see that the most with Americans. We like to go over. This is how we do our life. This is how we should do our life everywhere we go, and that's not really the best way to look at things. I think that you should really kind of embrace the cultures that you're visiting, and make sure that you're kind of abiding by their rules, not drawing a ton of attention to yourself, not making a fool out of yourself. I think that's how we Americans get bad names, is people just go over and they expect everything to be home. And it's just not that way around the world.
It's not that way at all. And there's some parts of the world who will kind of take it for a while, but there's other parts that won't take it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of places that are starting to get to push back
right.
and kind of like take offense to you know, negative connotations and that sort of thing that Americans have brought.
Mm,
I keep referring to them only because I am one and I feel like
right.
I can relate to them the most. So
Now, when we go to the we're both, Midwest and East Coast, and a lot of times here in the States, we go down to the Caribbean, or,
yeah.
Eastern Mexico, and, a lot of times there's a level of poverty we're not used to, and, there's, what did Chris Rock say? The scariest ride is from the airport to the resort or something like that, and
In some places.
yeah, yeah, and so when we go to the resort, many of us don't really wanna leave, or we stay in there, so it's a little bit different in that respect,
Hmm.
where we're just a guest of the resort. But once we venture out and go into town, and go to the flea markets and things like that, it's really good to kind of understand how the locals work and appreciate.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I do a lot of I have a passion for, you know, meaningful travel and that sort of thing and I'd really like to push you know, giving back to communities that you go and you visit. So if you are a little bit more of like the cultural immersion type, like I
Mm,
consider myself, you know, I'd like to get in the thick of things. So I'll go to like do cooking classes and dance
mm,
classes and those sorts of things so that I can kind of learn how the locals are living their life. And while I'm also there, hopefully I can give back in some way, shape, or form. I usually work a lot with animal shelters. So I do a lot of like, you know, volunteerism and so forth while I'm on vacation as well. And yeah, so I like to make sure that I know where I'm going. I know the rules of the places. I know how to get along with everybody and show respect. I feel like that is the main thing that a lot of times we're lacking is the respect piece.
yeah, it certainly is. And my father's from Italy, so I spend a lot of
Okay.
time over there.
Yeah.
B And generally, when people say, what should I do, when I always give these three things in Italy, and kind of Spain falls it too. But the first one is, when you want to know where to eat, ask the cops. Everybody else gets paid. Taxi drivers,
Okay.
Ubers, everybody else gets paid. The cops will tell you where they eat. So, second, if the menu is in English, go to another place. You want you want it, and even better if it's up like on a chalkboard. In Italian or Spanish, wherever you are, even better. And then lastly, the wine, get it in the carafe. It's local, it's often better. They make more money with the bottle, but the craft is local, it's expensive, and oftentimes better. What do you think of those three pieces?
Yeah, I think all of them are yeah, absolutely perfect. I would venture to lean towards all of those as well. My main thing is if the restaurant doesn't have a sign outside, it's probably going to be really
Mm.
good. So I
Mm.
tend to go to like those local places, or you know, I don't know. I haven't actually thought about asking a cop, but that's great advice. I do ask a lot of locals, a lot of you know, just people that have been passing by. Hey, where can
Mm.
I get a good meal? Blah blah blah. But yeah, so asking cops, I like that.
Yeah, they don't get paid, and
They don't.
yeah, they don't get paid, so they'll tell you the truth, and they don't. Everybody, the taxi drivers, the Ubers, they'll want to push you. They get some money for it, but it's just a little bit different there.
Yeah.
And how about speaking the language? Where are you on that?
I'll be honest with you. I wish that I personally could be better at learning languages, but I really am just not. I look like I should speak Spanish, but I don't.
Yeah.
So that tends to be a problem. I think that as long as you're using your Google Translate and you're trying to do the best that you can,
Mm.
I don't think that you would necessarily have to know every language in the world in order to travel there. But it is helpful if you know
Mm.
like the basics, like, you know, ask for how do you ask for food or how do you ask
Mm.
to go to the bathroom or those sorts of things. I feel like usually helpful.
Yeah, and the food is really the kind of commonality. I was just at a Thai place here. I'm in Western Florida, and I saw an option on the menu that I've never seen before. It's just shut up and eat. So you just tell the chef what spice level you want, and they'll decide what to make. I love that, and I wish more places would. Now my girlfriend does not like that, but I want, like, I would love to go even to some of these countries and say, just what does the chef like? And, because I'm not allergic to
Right.
anything. I'm a bit of, so the food is a
Yeah.
real commonality there that brings us all together, I think.
Absolutely. Food's my favorite part of any kind of vacation.
Mm,
I really like to kind of get like the local stuff. So if I'm able to do like a homestay, or if I can meet up with
mm,
a local family for a few hours and just have dinner with them or something along those lines, I feel like that's an extra plus for a vacation.
hmm.
It doesn't always happen, but sometimes when it does, it's pretty awesome. And not only that, but when you're sharing a meal with a person from another country, you're learning a
Yes.
lot from them.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, I'll ask all these questions. They sometimes laugh at the questions that I ask, but I don't take offense to that, because that's part of it. You got to get to know them and all of their what they do and their cultures and what they celebrate and all that. But I feel like that's the best part about traveling.
Hmm. I was in London recently, and there was an Iraqi restaurant. Now, I've never seen an Iraqi restaurant in New York,
Oh,
and so I mean, it was like eating in somebody's kitchen. It was absolutely wonderful. And I said, when they came and started serving, I said, how do you say thank you in Farsi? And so I just kind of, trying to dive in a little bit and being
hmm,
respectful at the same time, not treat it like an oddity. But the food was just wonderful, and
yeah.
there's just so much we can learn that way.
Well, and you find too that a lot of times when you go and you ask those questions in a respectful way, they're so excited to
Yes.
tell you and to share and to teach you. And a lot of people will take that for take advantage of that and not necessarily see the beauty of that. But that's
Mm.
one of my favorite things is just having those conversations.
Is St. Martin still your favorite in the Caribbean?
Ah, man, I have to say that actually I just went to Bermuda recently, and I think that might have topped it just a little bit. But I
But
think
that's
it
not the
was
Caribbean, that's more Atlantic.
well, okay. I guess you're right. Then yes, St. Martin is still my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's close.
Bermuda's wonderful, isn't it? I've never
Yes.
been, but I hear. But yeah, I mean,
Oh my
people don't
goodness.
realize how north it is. I mean, it's off like the coast of
Yeah.
North Carolina, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's way
Yes,
up
so
there.
we actually went in February, which I found is it's a little chilly there. So it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
68 or so during the day, which, not really swimming weather, but there was nobody there. Absolutely
Wow.
nobody. It was like we had one other person that we saw that looked like might have been a tourist that stayed at the hotel. But other than that, it was just the workers that were there. We had the beaches completely to ourselves.
Wow.
I think that experience is why Bermuda has been so amazing and has
Mm.
moved up so quickly in my book is because of that. I think that if I would have gone during the summer, they say that there's, sometimes 60,000 people all in one
Wow.
port at the same time. I think if that was the case, I don't think I would have enjoyed
Mm.
it as much. So,
Is it an English colony?
yeah.
Who owns Bermuda? I see.
Yeah.
So do they ride on the drive on the left side?
Yes.
Oh my
And
goodness.
fun fact, I found out they're only allowed to have one car per household there.
Hmm.
So if you've got multiple people have to drive, you all have to share.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you have to register it to other people. And he said there's a
Hmm.
workaround, but it's not legal. So,
Hmm. I know you spent
yeah.
some time in St. Thomas too. They're on the left side, but then when
Mhm.
you go, that's the United States Virgin Islands. But then when you go over to the British Virgin Island, they're also on the left side, but the steering wheel is on the right. At least in the U.S., the
Yes.
steering wheel's on. It's all messed up.
It's a little confusing. I'll be honest with you. I usually have my husband drive,
Hmm.
or I will take private transportation just because
Yeah.
I have bad luck with cars in general, and
Yes.
it scares me to drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
one of those people that they're honking at. No, you're going the wrong way.
So Saint Martin, I love it's French and Dutch. The old saying is one side you lose your money, the other side you lose your clothes. So the Dutch side has
Absolutely.
casinos, and of course the French side has the nude beaches. But it's a beautiful
Yes.
island.
Absolutely, and the food is amazing too.
Really?
They have like it's kind of like a smorgasbord of different things. You know, they've got Americanized food, they've got French food, there's Dutch food. Their barbecue is amazing.
Really?
Yeah, I really enjoyed St. Martin. I did learn too that because one of the things I mentioned is that I'm not really big into eating fish that still look like a fish.
The
Um,
eyes, yeah.
yeah, with the eyeballs, that thing kind of freaks me out a little bit. So I mentioned that, and one of the locals there actually made fun of me, and she's like, "Honey, you want the eyeballs on the fish?" And I was like, "Wait, why?" And she's like, "Because you know that they're a healthy fish. Because if their eyes aren't glossed over, then that means that they're good to eat. But if their eyes are glossed over, then they're not
Mm.
good." She's like, "So you want
Mm.
the head on the plate?" And I'm like, "Okay." So trying to look at it from that perspective, I think
Mm.
I've managed to you know eat fish that look like fish, but yeah, it was a little difficult for me at first.
Very practical. And I heard you talked at one place where they eat horse, and that's kind of a little difficult
Yeah.
to get. Yeah.
Yeah, Mongolia. I heard. I spoke to a girl from there, and she said that that's like their main source of meat. And you know, it's really difficult for me because I'm American. I love horses. I
West, yeah.
grew up with them and all of that. But I understand it because they have more horses around. They're more prevalent, so it makes sense why other countries would pick other things to eat. I also spoke to somebody who had to go and actually pick his own guinea pig while he was in South America. He went to a
Ooh.
guinea pig farm, and he was like, it was a little weird, but once I got past that, it actually not too shabby. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I feel about guinea pigs either because I've also
Hmm.
had one of those as a pet as well. So, but
Hmm.
it's what you have. You gotta eat. You gotta survive. So
When I brought my daughters, they were, in their about 8 or 9 and 12, something in that area when I brought them to Italy to my relative's place. One of my grandmother has chickens, and she said to the girls, "Hey, pick your favorite chicken." And the girls like, "Oh, that one, that one." I told them,
yeah,
years later, that's what you picked what we ate. You
yeah.
weren't picking your favorite.
I don't
I
know what
still
I
bring
would
it up.
do in that situation. I don't think I could do it. I'd feel
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't they enjoyed, we didn't tell them, but they definitely enjoyed it. So, for those of
Yeah.
us we're at an age where we wanna go to an all-inclusive resort, we don't want kids around, we want, an adult, and there's plenty of options of those,
Mhm.
and but it's getting the beach, it's getting away, it's usually involved with heavy drinking and eating, and, but to actually dive into you could probably venture off into the town for a day or half day or go to one of the islands, but you still should maintain that kind of respect for your local
Absolutely.
community.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
hard to do
absolutely.
sometimes, right?
It definitely is. But those people who are working at those resorts, they're there to make a living. Like they're not
Mm.
there to aggravate you. They're there to get you what you want. They want to leave a good taste in your mouth because then they know that you're going to come back or you're going to spread the word about how amazing they are or whatever. I feel like my best all inclusive experience was in Jamaica.
Whoa.
I've been to Dominican Republic, and I feel like they're a little bit pushier. But
Hmm.
Jamaica is everybody is just so relaxed there. You can hang out on the beach, and you don't really have a lot of people hounding you to buy things. And it just seems like everybody is just so chill. I'm sure it has something to do with that whole Rastafarian way of
Yes.
life, but uh, yeah, I really enjoy it there. I feel like that's a great place for somebody who's brand new to exploring the world and they're trying to get out of the country but not necessarily ready to get out of the bubble yet. Jamaica provides a really good place for that.
I remember we were there with some friends, and we took a van, or to go somewhere, and his name was Tomas, and he was and he was driving, and he had a plate of food on his knee while he was driving, and he was
Oh,
eating with a
okay.
fork, and it smelled
Yeah.
great. I said to Tomas, "What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's beef chicken, man." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." I said, "It smells great." And he goes, "Oh," he puts his food, puts a fork in and gets a piece and goes like this and gives it to feed it to me.
No.
And I
I
leaned in for a
mean,
second and I said, "Wait, no, that's all right. Thank you." But
Oh, I love
continue.
the fact.
So it's just
That's
kind of
awesome.
representative of the society. They're very open. They're very giving. They're very, what does he say? There's no strangers, just friends we haven't met yet, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I have, yeah, every person that I've met down there has just been super, nice. They're friendly. They want to, like, I had one guy, my husband and I were outside of Rick's Cafe and we were just walking by and the guy, went to go shake my husband's hand and they started handshaking. He just started rapping to him and they sat there for like 10 minutes and he's just holding his hand and we're like both getting into it. And, like, this is an awesome experience. They don't care who you are. They just want to talk to you and hang out with
Mm,
you. So
mm.
I really enjoy it there.
So let's just talk about the Caribbean. Are there any places you wouldn't go back to, B?
Um, man. So I hate to say this, but I really didn't enjoy Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was because we went too far into the cultural immersion experience and we
Interesting.
didn't stay on a very good side of the island. So
Mm,
I saw, a couple of emaciated horses, and
mm,
just a little bit of, neglect in that area. So I was a little
mm,
turned off by that. But I hear that there's other amazing places inside of Puerto Rico, so I probably just need to give it another shot in a better
mm.
place.
San Juan's pretty cool. It's got the El Morto, that old, fort there and everything. But you're right. When
Yes.
I talk to people that have gone off the path a little bit, it can get a little like any island, I guess you could
Right,
say.
absolutely. Yeah. I think if I wouldn't have seen the horse, I think I would
Uh,
have been okay, but that kind of is just like, if you're treating your animals that way that are helping you, then what else is going on? So,
mm,
like I said, we went real deep into it though. Like we were staying inside of a neighborhood in an Airbnb, that had a resident rooster that literally lived outside of our window. So, I mean, it was definitely an experience that I would, not. I'm glad that I had, but
right.
I'm not necessarily sure I want to relive.
A resident rooster. Have you spent much time in Europe?
I haven't. No, I've never actually been over there.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Very, very different.
Yes.
Each country is so different. I always tell the story, and I mentioned my father's from Italy. I'm from the Northeast, from New Haven, and so I was 10 years old. Excuse me. First day of summer, third grade ended, and my father gives me a suitcase. Says, "Put your clothes in the suitcase." So I put my clothes in, and then he proceeds me to bring me to the bus station in New Haven. Tells the bus driver to drop me off Terminal One JFK, and gives me a plane
Oh,
ticket and a picture of my grandmother. Said, "You're going to meet your grandmother in Milan." And 10 years old, I'm excited as heck. I get my suitcase, I get on.
right.
Of course, he'd be arrested now, right? So,
Right.
uh, he doesn't even bring me to the airport, B. He- which in Queens, about an hour and a half drive. So, I get at the airport, I find somebody, I fly over there excited, and I land, I get my picture out, I meet my grandmother, my uncle for the first time in my life, and then I proceed to spend many summers there afterwards,
That's
which
awesome.
yeah, which gives you a very different education. Like travel, the education that
Yes.
travel gives you is so unique.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I have a similar story. I was 8 and my parents were going on vacation and they shipped me over to LA to hang out
Wow.
with my grandma for the week. So I totally know exactly what you're talking about. I remember being excited. And then I saw Santa Monica Beach for the first time
Yeah,
and I saw
yeah.
my first homeless person. And I I think I still might be a little scarred from that vacation. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So yeah, I totally get what you mean. But it was one of those like I'm glad that I did it because it was eye-opening for me, and it was the
Mm,
first time I'd ever really been able to see what the real world was. So, it's just maybe I wish I was a little bit older before before I had
mm.
that trip, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that. How that yeah, that was a little shocking for you. Yeah, it's beautiful
Very.
there, but then it's sad at the same time. It can be, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and I
Yeah.
haven't been back since, so I can't imagine what it's like
Mm,
now.
mm. And it's also wonderful when you travel to find out that people can live differently than you and be just as happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're so grateful for what little they
Mm,
have too. And I,
mm,
I feel like that's something that a lot of us could really use as a lesson is that just because you don't have the finer things or you might not have the best of this or the best of that doesn't mean that your life isn't you're not living a fulfilled life.
mm,
You have a lot of things to be thankful for. So yeah, I feel like the less they have almost I don't know, the more humble and happy they
Amazing.
are is because they don't need it.
Great lesson to be learned there, isn't there? Your
Absolutely.
son came to you and said, "Hey, I want you to, put all these pictures up on Facebook. I want to tell everybody where you're going, my friends," and it just kind of launched B Enterprises, didn't it?
Yeah, basically, Life, Love, and Travel was born a while back. Yeah, it was definitely a fun. It's been a fun experience. I shouldn't say it in the past tense because we're still working on it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was not something that I really expected. My kid was just like, "Hey, let's do it." I'm like, why not? YOLO,
Hmm.
right? Like, and then it started blossoming into this great thing. I'm working now with a couple different Hilton hotels. I'm gonna go hang out down in Dominican Republic, the Michis new resort. I'm super excited about that. I've had a lot of opportunities pop up that I honestly wouldn't have never considered myself able of doing. So
Hmm.
I'm pretty excited about that.
And so it's the podcast, which is great. What do you want the beachside banter with B? What do you want people to come away with there? I mean, I watched a couple. You're talking to people who are also in travel.
Yeah. So I really am trying to dive deeper into like beach towns and that sort of thing. I really want to pull out different experiences from people. So I'm trying to pick people from other countries. I spoke to somebody in season 2. You'll see they're in Greece and they run a different tourism area. They have
Hmm.
all these different places that you can go to and see and tours that you can get on. But when we talk about like the food that they're eating, what kind of things you could do there, places that are maybe off the beaten path, hidden gems, those sorts of things. So I'm really trying to pull out and bridge the gap between American tourism and other countries. So
Hmm.
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's not as even the resorts. We're going to one soon, and it's not as expensive that people think it is. By the way, it's quite affordable.
It is. A lot of times people are being oversold on some of the
Mm.
things they might not necessarily need. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't splurge when you're on vacation as well. We kind of have that treat yourself mentality, but we
Mm.
don't really treat ourselves throughout the year. We only do it while we're on vacation. So there's always that level of balance too. But once you find that, I feel like it's
It's
all
everything.
uphill or
Yeah,
downhill. One of the
and tell me
hills.
tell me about your boutique.
Yeah, so it's just a simple little women's boutique. We has a bunch of different kind of styles and a lot of beach clothes, beach attire, that sort of thing. It was just something that I personally have always wanted to have because I dabble a little, just a tiny bit into fashion, but not enough to really call myself a fashionista or anything.
Mm.
So, and I just thought it would be fun to be able to kind of show like my love for fashion as well as travel and kind of mix them all together. So
Hmm.
Jet Setter's Closet was born, and yeah, it's been a fun little project. My son has kind of taken over, so I'm excited to see how that goes.
Cruising. You like
Yeah,
it? You don't?
I have never been on a cruise, and I'll be
Whoa.
honest, I'm scared. Scared. I have this fear of sharks. Um,
Hmm.
that is, it's probably unrealistic. Like I seriously doubt I'll ever get actually eaten by a shark, but for
Good.
whatever reason it just freaks me out. So and then being on top of the ocean in the middle of the night with nothing around, I don't know, it kind of freaks me out. So I haven't been there yet, but I met a great guy who does a lot of cruising and he could definitely help with questions and stuff if anybody has them. So yeah, I haven't made it there. I don't know if I will.
Hmm. I've probably been on 15. We went to
Okay.
Alaska. We did a lot of Caribbean. We did Mediterranean.
Yeah.
The great thing about it is that you could do as little or as lot you want about it. I as far as being on the water at night and not seeing land doesn't bother me at all. But
Oof. Yeah.
yeah, I could see why it could bother some, that's for sure. But and we did a lot of Disney cruises when my daughters were they're
Okay.
in their
Yeah.
20s now, and now they're younger.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time, my one of my daughters saw, Minnie in her evening gown, she cried,
Oh.
so it was that kind
Yeah.
of, and the cruise is just like any resort, do a really good job on making you want to come back, so, and the excursions they have are cool. It's a great way to see a lot of ports. That's where I went to
Yeah.
Jamaica, and then you could decide if you want to kind of go there afterwards. But and then in the Mediterranean, and Alaska is its own kind of beast, right?
Oh,
Because
I
it's not
know.
there's no
Yeah.
beach, but you're seeing all these, you know, bear and whale and it's its own kind of. How about where are you with timeshare, B?
Okay, I think I have one.
You
I
think?
don't I think
Should probably get some clarity on that.
I know it's so bad. I think we signed up for one back in like 2013, but I don't know if we ever actually ended up paying for it or what. But
Interesting.
I'll be honest with you, I'm a no go on the timeshares. So we got during that little meeting that we had, and I think
Ah,
we ended up working over like like 2 grand or something. Not even a ton of money, but I don't know what I don't have anything to show for it. So
you
I don't
got
know how I'll ever go to another timeshare thing. I'm a
you got
sucker.
yeah, you got. That's funny.
God.
Do you know anybody who's done? I mean, I have kind of a small one, but it's with points and everything. We make sure we use it every year. I guess kind of locked into the same place every year would be a little tricky for me.
Yeah, I think that's the other part of it. One of the reasons why I was sold on the other one was that you were able to go to wherever you wanted to.
Mm,
But it was one of those things where you could only get you had to have 2 weeks notice or something like that, and it couldn't be any more than that. And it's like, who can plan to go somewhere on 2 weeks notice?
mm,
Or and like you have to get your flights and all of that. And it
mm.
was yeah. Anyways, like I said, I got. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like so we went on this kick for a while. There was a Holiday Inn down in Jamaica, and it was a great little place, all inclusive, cheap. You got what you paid for, type thing. But everybody who worked there was great. We were going, every 6 months or so, and it kind of just got to the point where we've done everything in Jamaica.
Mm,
And although I really love it, I just don't know that like we kind of outplayed that. So I think that having a timeshare in a place like that might get a little old for me because
mm,
I like to
mm,
explore so many different places. But I do have a couple friends who have one in Florida, and they absolutely love it. They get their week down there and they have a planned vacation. They know exactly where everything's at and what food to eat and all that,
hmm.
and they're content with that. So I think it just depends upon the traveler.
Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind the scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today. Yeah, Dunn's River Falls, I mean, Montego Bay, they're all great, but, after the 5th or 6th time, you don't really wanna do them anymore, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You mentioned flights. How important is global entry and clear and TSA
Oh
pre?
goodness. Well, I think it truly depends upon which hotel or which airport that you're connecting in once you get
Mm,
into the states. But every time that we've flown, because we used to live in St. Louis, so every time that we would go anywhere to the Caribbean, we would have to fly through Atlanta. So we'd have a layover there and on the way back. And the first time that we did that, we didn't have global entry, and we missed our flight. We It took us 2.5 hours or so to get through customs because there was just so many people. So we were like, we have to figure out a way to do this because you only have so many flights to get back into St. Louis, and having a 2 hour or so layover in Atlanta is not always feasible. So we looked into global entry, and I will never turn back. That's something that I will always, always, always use. I think it's good for 5 years, and every 5 years, I will make sure it is renewed. It just makes things so much easier. It's literally you get off the plane, You go, you have your little thing, you get your face scanned, they say, okay, yep, this is you, go ahead, you're done. And you get to bypass all those people that are standing in that long line. You have a lot of dirty looks on the way past them, but it's definitely worth every penny. I would
Yeah,
suggest it.
I've been global entry, and which includes TSA pre. So I do a lot of business
Yes.
flying domestically, and it includes it. Have you done the mobile passport, the MPC, where you have the app on the phone?
No, I think my husband actually just did that on his most recent flight. He said that it was awesome.
Yeah,
He's like, it,
pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah. I did it. I mentioned I was in London last week, and, even though I'm global entry, I tried that as well just to kinda see which would get me quicker, and
Right.
it but it went through fine. How about Clear?
I haven't actually used Clear, but my son did sign up for one of those memberships not too long ago, and he said that he's like, "Mom, if I could afford it, I definitely would have it because I
Mm,
think it's like
mm.
300 a month or something along those lines." But
Oh, no,
he
300 a
enjoyed his.
year.
Oh, okay. I remember
Yeah,
he said
not
it
a
was crazy
month.
expensive,
Oh my
but I was.
goodness, no.
He's like 19, so
I I
he doesn't need
say,
it. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's like, if I could afford it, I definitely would. And I'm like, I feel like with what I have and the traveling that I do, global entry is enough. But I can see where Clear is helpful. He definitely enjoyed it. His 2 weeks, his 2 week trial that he had.
Mm. Yeah, I've had it for a while, and it's just quicker, it's just
Yeah.
not all airports support it, but it's quicker. What's a volunteercation?
So a volunteercation is one where you actually spend some time giving back to the community. It doesn't have to be you go down there and volunteer the entire time.
Mm,
Just giving back, 4 6 hours of your day or your trip or however, just doing something that is beneficial to the community. So I know I spend a lot of time with animal shelters. But I've also had the visit at schools where I've actually read in English to a couple of the kids. That was a lot of fun. It was their after school program. There's plenty of different ways. I know that there's ecological ways that you can get involved. There are some places that will actually help you volunteer or will let you volunteer for biological stuff, start research and that sort of thing. I haven't done that. I don't know if I'm smart enough for it, but
hmm.
just that kind of stuff. So I really try every time I go somewhere out of the country to try to give back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think I heard you say you were in St. Thomas, I believe, and you were just kinda introduced to some animals that needed some help, and,
Yeah.
you asked some questions, and you kinda took it from there. It's nice. It's a nice addition.
Yeah, it really is. So, St. Thomas has a program called Pets with Wings, and it's super easy. You basically just tell them that you're interested in helping, and they take over from there. They pay for the fees. They'll meet you at the airport with. We had 2 puppies or 3 puppies that we brought home in the little cargo air, or, their little hold, and they just meet you there. They give you all the stuff that you need, all the paperwork. You go through customs, or well, we didn't go through customs. We went through security with them, and then you just hang out with your puppy until you get home.
Wow.
They hang out on the plane with you. They go underneath the seat in front of you. They're usually they have a little bit of Benadryl or something in them so that they're calm and
Huh.
relaxed. I know that's bad, but it helps them get through it, and they're not as stressed out. And then once you get home, you usually meet somebody at your home airport, and they take the puppy and give it a home here in the states. I have actually fostered too, so I've brought a puppy home from Aruba that we actually fostered for about 6 months or so, and then we found him a home with my son's best friend. So,
Wow.
it's a lot of it's fulfilling to be able to give back in some way, and it makes it easy and kind of fun too. So you get a little bit of you know puppy time.
Hmm. How do you like St. Thomas?
Oh, St. Thomas is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, the views from the top, the water, everything about it. It's a really great place. If I could convince my husband to move there, I definitely would.
Wow. And then taking that ferry over to St. John, my favorite beach in the world is Trunk Bay.
Yes. So, fun little story. We actually didn't make it to any of the beaches in St. John because we wanted to go. They have that national park there. We
Yes,
wanted
so
to go
it's
hiking through the national park.
ah,
We totally got lost trying to find the entryway, and I had no idea that the roads were as hectic as they are in St.
yeah,
John.
yeah.
So like there was a couple of them, we'd go uphill and then we get to the points where you couldn't see the road at all. And by the third time that we saw that, my husband was just like, I need to go home and get a beer. I can't do this anymore. This driving is crazy. And I'm like, okay. So we ended up at a bar and we ended up not making it to the national park or the beaches, but still had a really fun day there. So yeah.
It's like 75% national park or something of St. John. It's like crazy. It's like, yeah, it's got some, there's like,
That's what's so bad about the story.
yeah, it's big, and there's no airport there, so you got a boat over there.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. And then going over to the British Virgin Islands, just a BVI, just kind of a different feel, but still really cool.
Yeah. I haven't made it over there yet. We are looking at Tortola for, is
Tortola,
that how you
yeah,
say it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Tortola,
For
yeah.
hopefully for my birthday this year. So we'll
Oh,
see how
that's
that goes.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, I've been there so much, and I haven't been there. Well, I was in there a couple of years ago, but I'm just reminded how rum is less expensive than
Yes.
water. So you're just drinking local rum all the time, and you don't get a
And
headache
it's
from it. It's
so
not
good.
bad, yeah, like you do around here. And it's filled with additives, and but so you're drinking their local stuff, and it's just such a different life. And I mean, the thing about St. Thomas, but I think it's like 99% of everything is imported. There's nothing kind of local there. So,
Right.
but it's a huge island, by the way. And was it Blackbeard's Castle? I don't remember now, but it's come a long way. The port's a lot cleaner now. A lot more shops. Kind of COVID knocked it out a little bit, but it's reviving and everything. But it's still
Yeah.
part of the United States. It's the United States Virgin Islands.
And a lot of people overlook it too because they don't necessarily think of that being US. So
Right.
I have a lot of people where, I'm trying to help plan trips to, and I'm like, hey, have you thought about, oh, wait, that is US. You're right. I didn't even think about that. So I think if more people knew that it would probably get more tourism, but I don't think they really want it, to be honest with you. I think they're
Yeah.
pretty content where they are.
And it's odd because they drive on the other side of the road there, like we
Right.
said, but they do the currencies. Although you really don't need cash these days, you're putting everything on, chip.
Yes.
But when I was in London, I never converted money. You just don't need to.
Right.
But it's still. So when somebody wants to go on a vacation, what questions do you ask them to kind of determine where they should go?
Number one is budget.
Uh,
I hate to say that, but you have to know exactly. Like, I need to know how much you're going to be able to afford before I
mm,
send you somewhere.
mm,
And a lot of times, people don't really. They just want to go. Oh, I've heard of this place, and this is where I want to go. So they don't
mm,
think about the monetary portion of that. I have to have this amount of money. Dinners are this much, that sort of thing. So that's the number one. And then after that, what kind of vacation is it that you're looking for? Because that'll also determine where it is that I'll suggest for you to kind
mm.
of plan at. Somebody who's looking for something that's really relaxed or all inclusive, I might suggest Jamaica, Punta Cana, those kind of places. But if somebody is looking for more of a cultural immersion experience, I would maybe suggest Belize,
Hmm.
or possibly Aruba. Those well, Aruba's kind of a American eyes, so to
Yeah, it
speak. I kind of
has,
felt like
yeah.
I was in Florida when I was there.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's Dutch, but it's
Yeah.
still, yeah, it feels very, and it's a desert island, which is odd too, by the way.
Yes. Yes. But
And then if
great
it's
weather.
always great weather. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the Antilles, right? The ABC, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. I think it's
Yes.
those three. But beach or mountain, but primarily people you're talking to are beach, right? If they're talking Caribbean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually. People are usually as obsessed with the beach as they are as I am. So
Mm, mm.
that's usually where they're coming. I have been to a few mountainous places, but I mean I
The
love the
beach.
beach. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mentioned before, my girlfriend turns a golden age this year, and she
Ooh.
wants no kids. She wants a great beach, and she wants great pool. And so that's a
Yeah.
all inclusive resort. I think we're going to Cancun. There's some,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm in the west side of Florida, so it's only less than a 2-hour flight for us,
Yeah, that's not bad.
nonstop. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an important
Another
factor
great
too.
place. Oh, sorry. Another great place might be St. Lucia for you guys to look at
And Turks
if
and
you haven't been
Caicos
there.
too.
Yes, yes, Turks and Cakes. So, I have not been to either of those places yet, but I hear St. Lucia is more tailored towards adult. type
Oh.
tourism as opposed to children. So you can find a lot of great hotels. I think there's only like two resorts. They're a little pricey out there, but it looks amazing, especially when you're sitting there looking at the pitons. I don't know how. I'm
Yeah.
not good with pronouncing anything. I'm not. I'll
When you're
admit it.
picking out a resort, what should you be looking for? What should somebody try to look for when picking out a resort?
I have to look at reviews.
Mm,
I need to know that there's more better reviews than there is bad reviews.
mm,
But beyond that, I also try to make sure that it has all the things that people are looking for. So, if somebody wants to go and they want a spa, I definitely want to look for a place with that. Or some people like casinos attached to their hotel. Some
mm.
people want their restaurants to be the most important, so that way they can just easily walk there. So I really try to get to know who it is that I'm helping out with their planning and try to figure out what the best is for them.
What's important for us is nonstop flight.
Yes. I didn't realize that until I moved to Atlanta.
That's right, you're in Atlanta now. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
which's got I don't know, biggest, second biggest airport in the states. I don't know what number it is
Yeah,
now, but that's important for us because we don't want to lay over and then we have to do customs in that city and just what can we
exactly.
get nonstop and then take it from there.
Yeah. And usually for me, it has to be where does Delta fly
That's
to?
right. You're a
Because
Delta girl. Yeah.
I love Delta. They are my go to. Not that I don't like the other places, but Delta just seems to be the best so far for me.
Mm. You mentioned that you were doing some work with Hilton. Now,
Yeah.
Hilton has a whole vacation points kind of thing, don't they?
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely. They do.
and you wouldn't look at something like that.
So I do. I am a part of the Hilton Honors program. I
Uh,
definitely am a diamond member there because I use them most often. I
I
think
see.
between Hilton and Delta are usually my go-to when I'm trying to
Ah.
plan stuff. But yeah, so I spoke to one of the people from. They're opening a new place in Michi's, Dominican Republic. It's an all-exclusive resort. Haven't been there yet, but super excited about it. The building, everything looks beautiful. So we were kind of tossing around the ideas, and because I'm also a travel agent, they kind of invited me out. So
Mm.
we're heading down there in September, so to kind of try it out and see how things go. And I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to create content for them.
You mentioned September. So what can we do? Because that's hurricane season,
I know
right?
that's the only bad part about it. Yep.
And that's my girlfriend's birthday in September as well. So she's all concerned. So do you recommend buying the insurance to make in case things get canceled?
Absolutely. So I am one of those people who I feel like insurance is important no matter where you're going and what time of the year you're going. Just because there's a lot of times that they will cover you for things that maybe your normal health insurance might
Mm.
not cover you for, or so on and so forth. So I definitely push for that all the way around, but especially if you're going during hurricane season.
We just don't know. I mean, it could be a
Yeah.
count like we had the biggest hurricane in 100 years here last year, so
Right.
or this year, so you just never know. And so you don't want to September is a great time to go, right? Because the kids are
It
back
is.
in school, and flights are less expensive. Nobody travels there.
Exactly.
September is a wonderful time to go, and that's
Right.
the beginning of
Yeah.
hurricane
So
season.
that's the bad part about it. But I feel like I know it's hit or miss, but a couple years ago we did go down to Grand Cayman during September and had the absolute best weather we've ever had there. We've gone during April, and we've also been there during November, and it's rained the whole time. But for whatever reason, in September it was perfect.
Mm,
So I think it's just hit or miss. I always recommend making sure that you get a hotel that is refundable up until like a week before or so, just so
mm.
that way if you can get it refundable all the way through, that's even better. Or and then if that doesn't work, then you have that extra layer of insurance that'll kind of take care of you as well.
So yeah, have it refundable and insurance as well. You
Yeah.
mentioned Grand Cayman. We had a great time there. I remember I went parasailing. So you have the big
Yes.
parachute and you have a rope and the boat's going. And I remember they say, look out for the big sea tortoises. We've got huge sea tortoises out there. And I'm up there and I see one and it's following me exactly for like
Oh.
5 minutes. And And then as I get down, I notice, well, it was just a shadow of the parachute. It wasn't a tortoise at all.
Oh, wah, wah,
So
wah.
that thing is huge. I mean, it's following me exactly. Look at that. I mean, it must like me. But yeah, it
That's a
was.
bummer.
You mentioned the Dominican Republic. It gets kind of a
Yeah.
bad rap. You got to be careful there. What do you think?
I think it all depends upon the places that you're going. I think a lot of the places that had the bad rap were, maybe the cheaper hotels and that sort of
Mm,
thing there. But no matter where you go, I mean, you have to kind of keep your wits about yourself. It's always good to be, yeah, always good to have an idea of what's around you, your
mm,
surroundings, all that sort
mm.
of thing. I mean, you got to have safety first, no matter where it is. I mean, even if you're traveling in the U.S., a lot of those places too.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
yeah.
You have to be really careful. B, has there been anything in the last month or so that you changed your mind on?
Oh, I mean, I'm a woman. I change my mind
Ah!
every single day about something. I ask my husband. Um, I'm not sure. I think as far as maybe like my business goes, we are kind of heading in a little bit of a different direction with the podcast. We're
Mm.
planning to do multiple episodes a week instead of just one. And then we are adding a Patreon account too, because I hear that's supposed to
Oh.
be a good thing. So, yeah, so that was something that I was originally didn't really think we needed. And now it's kind of moving towards that direction. So, yeah.
So I don't excuse me, I'm not sure if you know my story. Excuse me. Started spring around here. There's a little bit of pollen in the air.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Yeah. I started my business in the 90s and I was working way too hard, not paying attention to my health. And, I'm at the doctor's office. Next thing I know, she tells me that I got up to 340 pounds. And
Oof.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So it scared the life out of me. And I'm driving home upset with myself. I've done this to myself. I can't do this to my family now. So spent the next 6, 7 months, lost about 130 pounds. And, people say, what's your secret? What's your secret? And there's no secret at all. B, discipline. That's how I lost it. I got
Yep.
routine, I got focus, motivation, etc. How does discipline play a role in your life, B, Davis?
So one thing that I have found, especially with the business, is if I'm not working it every single day, it's not moving forward at all. It it,
Mm.
it just sits there. So I have definitely had to learn how to, schedule myself better, making sure that I have enough time to do all of the tasks that I'm looking to do, and then that sort of thing. So learning. That piece I think was huge for me because the first couple months I was just like, oh, whatever happens, it'll happen, whatever. And then it just started getting to the point to where we weren't getting any movement. And then I'm like, okay, well, I can work here. And then I started working a little bit and then I get burnt out. And then I didn't want to do anything for a few weeks. And then I'd work real hard and then I'd get burnt out again. So one of the
Mm.
things that I learned was I don't know if you've used Motion, the calendar.
Yes, yes.
That's It's literally my best friend at this
Mm.
point. So that was a huge piece that kind of helped me get on track. Now I know exactly how much time I should spend towards social media, how much time I should spend toward this and that and whatever. And then also being able to kind of offload that onto other people has been helpful too. I think one of the things as entrepreneurs is we kind of tend to take on too much because we want to avoid that 9 to 5 so much that we're going to work 24/7 instead.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was one of the things that I had to learn and really be disciplined with was how much I could do and how much was realistic and how much could, hey, this needs to be a priority, this doesn't. So yeah, all of that I feel like has been very helpful in this process.
Consistency, routine, and delegation.
Yes. Number three, 1, 2, 3. You got it.
Yeah. Delegation is very tough for the entrepreneur. I work with
It
these tech
is.
firms that are, they still insist on ordering the pizza. I say, look, somebody else can do that. you know,
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't have to, delegation is a skill because the old 80-20 rule, if somebody can do it 80% the way you can, get it off your plate. And
Yes.
um, yeah, it's very interesting. What motivates you, B?
Um, I'm a Scorpio, so I am
Hmm.
motivated internally, and Also out of spite. I know that sounds terrible, but
Hmm.
I want to be better than I was the day before. So I think internally I'm always trying to like compete with myself. And it is a little difficult, but sometimes it's also very motivational.
Hmm.
I'm able to kind of talk myself into, hey, this is where you want to be. Why are you not here yet? So it's helpful, I think. But yeah, spite, I think.
So spite. So you're saying, hey, f off. I'm going to do this. You're doing it because
What
somebody or something's
Yeah,
explain.
like the haters kind of fuel me a little
I
bit.
say. I
The
say.
ones that say that you shouldn't be doing this, or you can't do this because you're too old, or those
Mm.
kind of things, those kind of like, all right, well now I have to prove you wrong. So
Mm.
that's kind of what I mean when it comes to, yeah, spite motivation. It's probably not a good thing, but it works.
Oh, Michael Jordan, you would use that all the time. I mean, he
Oh,
would
well there you
he
go.
he would print out things that, an opponent said in back then it was newspaper, and, when he's on the court, "Hey, I heard you said this. I'm glad you said that. Now I'm gonna, make you eat it," but he would,
Yeah,
yeah, spite is definitely a motivator for many, many people. There's no wrong way. So
yeah.
given that motivation, you say you're a Scorpio, motivate yourself in spite. How do you measure success?
I honestly, I any little bit of, any kind of sale, any kind of transaction, anytime I get, somebody to come on board, or I get to plan a trip, I anything is a success mark for me. So I don't really have like, I celebrate all the tiny wins. It doesn't matter
Mm.
how big they are. Like if I got a sale for $13 yesterday and I was still,
Nice.
raising the roof and super excited. It wasn't much of anything, but it was just the fact that, somebody found my shop, was a first time customer. They came, they bought something, that kind of thing. So I any kind of forward movement to me is a win.
Hmm. How often are you looking at that? Do you look at that often? Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it.
No, honestly, it's just kind of whenever it comes about, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should look at. I know I should probably be better about it. I'm not gonna lie
Mm.
to you, but yeah.
What's the best part about working in the tourism industry?
All the people I get to meet and all the
Mm.
things that I get to learn. So I'm from a very small town in Missouri called Ditmer, which a lot of people have never heard of before. So, but I'll be honest with you, like I was the only person of color in our school up until I was in high school, that sort of thing. So I didn't even realize that I was a person of color until I was a little bit older because it was just, yeah, so tiny of a town. So I had no idea how to eat with chopsticks, or how to, like what Spanish people would eat or Mexican people would eat, that kind of, like, I didn't really have that. It was all, grandma cooking, and we used salt and pepper, and that was it on our seasoning. So not that it was anything bad with it, but I was so kind of like in my little bubble that being able to kind of pop that and get out and experience all these things. I've learned how to use chopsticks, like, all those little bitty tiny wins.
Mm.
I feel like that's the best part about it. Being able to talk to people who are in other countries, and learn about the places that they live in, or the things that they do, or what they eat, all of that. That's my favorite part.
Hmm. What's the worst part about working in the tourism industry?
I don't really know that I have a worst part about it. I really enjoy what I do right now. I've had a couple of, maybe some not so nice clients that I haven't been able to please, but you're going to get that no matter where you go. So,
Right.
yeah.
So it's almost the same thing. The people and sometimes people are good and
Yeah,
sometimes they're a pain. Yeah.
exactly. They could be the best part and the worst part all in one.
I'm in the technology industry, being the the great thing I love about it is that it's constantly changing and it's evolving and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the worst thing I hate about it is that it's constantly changing and it's evolving. And yeah, so sometimes it's the same thing
Yeah.
that are both, yeah, that are. So I love talking about travel. I love to travel. I was immersed in the travel at 10 years old, whether I liked it or not. And
Yes.
uh you know and it's just a strong passion, and everybody needs to do it. Everybody needs
Absolutely.
to change it up a little bit, and just get a
Yeah.
little uncomfortable. I mean, it was a 8-hour flight to London last week, and I haven't taken that long a flight in a while. And on the way there, I slept, and on the way back, I worked with the Wi-Fi. Just made the best
Yeah.
out of it, and it's all part of it. I know we had to push this off a few times. Thank you so much for your
No problem.
accommodation. Such a great
Good.
pleasure talking to you. Anybody
Yeah.
listening, how can we get in touch with you?
So the best way to go is to my website at lifeloveandtravel.com. I'm also on, I think, every social media platform there is. I don't know. My son has me everywhere, but we all use the same tag. So Life, Love, and Travel is pretty easy. And then the podcast is Beachside Banter with B, and that's on Spotify and YouTube as well. So
So it's life, love, in the letter N travel.
yes.
Life, love,
Yes.
in travel.com. We'll make sure to put it on. And of course, yeah,
Awesome.
life, love, in travel on X and on Instagram, on Facebook. And then, of course, yeah, the podcast Beachside Banter with B. B, thank
Yes.
you so much. Next time I'm in your area, perhaps we can get a cup of tea, or you never know, maybe on one of the islands.
Yes, that sounds great. Maybe we can hang out together in September for your wife's birthday.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much, B. You be
Yeah.
well.
Thanks. You as well.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.